See me now?
Yep. Can you see it?
Hello.
Hey. Hello.
And then I think Sherry's logging back on right now. So do you guys know each other?
I don't know Tahmyrah. Is it Tahmyrah? Is that correct?
Yes.
Tahmyrah, I don't know you. Hi, Treyla Lee. Is that good?
Hi.
Well, I'm glad you guys are connecting here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, nice to meet you. And Sherry, I do know you. Hello.
I know.
All right, Cody, should we get going?
Yep, I'll bring y'all on about 5 seconds. So
Okay.
give you like the 3, 2, 1 countdown. So 3, 2, 1, and you should be good to go on Facebook Live.
All right. Well, just want to say hello to everybody. Thank you for following. Tonight we have a very special guests. We have more than one. This is the first time I think we've had multiple guests, so this is very exciting for me. But I want to thank our guests for being here tonight. And the past few weeks, we've seen protests and vigils and renewed calls for racial justice and equality here in Sioux City, across the 4th District and across the nation. And while these protests were sparked by the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and countless other Black men and women, the injustices that the Black community face aren't just limited to police and criminal justice reform. And so one of the things that we've been seeing, especially in this time of pandemic, you see the population of Black America is 13% of America, but yet 23% of the people who have died from COVID-19 have been Black. And so that's just a small snapshot of what we've been seeing as a nation, and a call for other things like what we see in maternal mortality rate, the housing, student debt, criminal justice reform, voting, the environment, workers' rights, and political representation, and so much more. And so that's part of the area that I wanted to talk with people tonight. And so with that, I would love to introduce our guests. And I guess I would start with Treyla. Would you like to start off and just let folks know who you are?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, JD. This is a great opportunity, and I'm honored to be one of your panelists this evening with these wonderful women across the state of Iowa. My name is Treyla Lee, and I'm a Sioux City native, a member of the NAACP, and also very interested in seeing some change in our social justice system. So again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Tahmyrah?
Hey, I'm happy to be here, especially with my two overqualified panelists. Hello, welcome. So I live in Mason City. I'm a small business owner with my best friends. We run a small diner. And when I'm not doing that, I am involved in community organizing, specifically for racial justice in Mason City.
And Sherry? Oh.
Hello, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
there we go.
Okay, there it is. Okay. Yes, I want to first start off by saying thank you for the opportunity. And it's definitely an honor to participate with these two wonderful women that are on the panel as well. And so Sherry Washington from Fort Dodge, and I am the rechaptering president for NAACP, as well as the president for Pleasant Valley Awareness Committee, which is a community group that's partnered with the city, as well as the human rights.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, again, I'm so honored to have all three of you here. I guess the first question I would really like to talk about is, what does power mean to you? And so I guess we'll go in the same order for this one.
Well, that's a loaded question. But
I apologize.
that's okay.
We're going big. We're starting off big.
Power is loaded, right? Great. That's a great question, JD. Power is, for me, is it's a bold statement. It's a bold word, but it also has the opportunity to make tremendous impact in any given situation. And when I think of the word power, I think of ownership, ability to influence and make change, to implement, and also to ensure that they're supported and people will follow that person or that position of power. So
that's good. Tahmyrah, do you seem like you're ready to go?
Yeah, I was just like writing down some notes. Well, that is a valuable perspective and definitely true to me. And the organizing that I do, I see power specifically in the lens of living in a capitalist white supremacy, and power being the key to dismantling the system that we exist in. So that's kind of how I view power. It's something that we need to seize. It is what is necessary for change. And I think right now it is in the hands of people that can't be trusted. So we need to put power back in our communities.
And Sherry?
And for me, power is having a voice, having a seat at the table, having some input in our lives, in our communities, in our families, being a voice for those that don't have a voice or don't feel they have a voice. So power for me is being able to sit at the table, being able to be heard, and having a voice.
Yeah. One area I think I would really like to hear your guys' opinion on is, I mean, the video of George Floyd's death, I think is something that's so just so real and just so raw. And it's something that I don't think any of us are ever going to forget after you watch that. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It just, it's something just, it creates emotion just even talking about it. And so I guess since that time, what has been in your thoughts, and what do you see, what do you see of the movement that's kind of happened as a result of it, and what do you want to see? I guess, and I would like to open it up. Anybody can jump in, but I would just like to open it up more. So,
well, I'll go.
Yeah.
You know, the minute you said George Floyd's name, I just got teary-eyed because, I have a brother, I have uncles, I have cousins, and grandfather, my father. I mean, there are just so many men that are in my life, and to be succumbed to that type of death it's impactful. I feel as though that there is so much to do. Like, I just want to do everything, but I don't know what to do in some cases, because I start to move one way and then I'm thinking I need to move in another way. And I really applaud the young adults that are stepping in and taking charge and just moving. Like, they don't stop and think about it, they're just moving. And I think because of the way that I've worked and the way I've done things, it was always stop, plan, and act. And I love the energy and and I would say the young adults have power. Like, they have the power, they're moving forward, and they are saying, you know what, enough of this. We're taking it back. We're taking what was stolen from us back. And when Tahmyrah made that statement about the need to seize, that is exactly what is happening. And I'm excited about that and ready to jump on that bandwagon if given an opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what I want to see a lot of things. Like I'm cussing mad, I'll say that. But something that's been most heavy on my heart, because there's been so many expressions of anger and sorrow. To this day, you know, I still shed at least a few tears every day thinking about what's going on. And I know that I'm not the only one. I won't be the last. So something that I think would be impactful for Black communities is a radical, transformative healing space. It's something that we sorely lack in Iowa. There aren't many places where I feel like I could catch a breath or catch a break, you know? Like, there aren't many places where I can get soul food or get my hair done the way I like or find the clothes that I'm interested in. There's no place for me to go to church. So where will I find my healing? Where will I find the culture that I need so much and want to connect to? Who's going to hold me in this moment? And so I want to find my people, and I want to create spaces for us to deal with this generational trauma, all of this rage, all of this hurt. It is going to stunt our emotional growth as a nation unless we address and care for Black people and deal with this trauma. So that's something that I want to fight for just as much as all of my anger. I want to fight for Black joy and healing as well.
Yes, and for me, all of what they both just said, that and so much more, you know, change must come. That's what's got to come out of all of this. And for the voices that are out there, we need a game plan, you know, continue those voices, put those voices out there, and change, you know, change has to come. That's all that I can really say, because there's so much to say, but I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. One of the areas, kind of how I've been viewing this, I remember as a kid watching Rodney King and really thinking the past month, what's the difference between that and what happened to George Floyd? And just over again, we see so many lives lost. And so I guess one of the things that I'm looking for to talk about a little bit more is, I mean, Iowa is 90% white. That's the reality of it right now. And so I guess, could you talk about where you see the movement going here in Iowa, and what does it mean to be a person of color in Iowa as well? And so again, whoever wants to chime in, feel free.
I think the movement needs to open the doors for conversations, which it's already done. But action has to come with those conversations. If there's just all talk and no action, and folks really are not engaging and really moving forward with a change, then the conversations are just going to fall on deaf ears. So for me, I'm sorry. Yeah. So for me, that's what I'll add to it.
I would say I would agree, Sherry. I think it's, you know, sometimes you run a default of being the only Black friend, and maybe the safest Black friend that people feel compelled to come in and have a conversation with you. And although I appreciate that a person could come to me and want to have that conversation, I am not the voice for everyone. And that I have pushed back a little bit, and with my Christian friends that are white, you know, they're sorry this happened. They want me to know that they love and care for me and what have you. However, my plea to them was, I need you to educate yourself. And when you find something that you found in your reading, your research that doesn't agree with your spirit, then you pray about that and see how you can make change. And also, the other thing is that acknowledge the fact that you have privilege and that you have access to things that I don't. And just because, you know, we might have the same demographics of family, I might have a mother, father, you have mother, father, I went to college, you went to college, there's still some differences there. And I just want you to acknowledge or just take a minute understanding that you do have privilege and that you do have access to resources and opportunities that I may not have.
Tahmyrah, did you have anything? Or?
Yeah. Oh, yes. So I guess piggybacking off that a little, I will say it is difficult to be a person of color, specifically a Black person in Iowa, and have that lack of a central community. It can be very isolating. And I think a large part of the movement progressing, specifically here in Iowa and in other Midwestern states, is white allies, accomplices, comrades making intentional space, like making a space at the table for the Black folks that have been trying to get there. It's difficult to get your way up there when you don't really have people that look like you, people that have paved the way, or like you're oftentimes the pioneer in what you do. I'm sure these two ladies have been pioneering a whole hell of a lot here in Iowa. And that's wonderful because there will be women who come behind them who have that example. But in the meantime, it's lonely out here on the frontier. So having folks that are actually in arms with you, who are making sure that when you are sitting at the table, that you're not interrupted and you do get a chance to speak. I think that is such a big part of movement building in Iowa. And to that point, to intersectionality, I don't want to detract from the movement and saying that like there is only a huge backlash when it is Black men that are killed, but frankly there isn't as much of a hoopla thrown when Black women are killed, or trans Black people are killed, or gay Black people, and that lack of intersectionality is so problematic, especially when you consider that LGBT Black people and Black women are the backbone of this movement, always have been, always will be. So I think just, again, making space, making a place, making it safe for us to do the work that we were honestly born to do, already have the leadership abilities. We just need folks to sit down and listen and follow.
Do you guys think that this is, or I apologize for saying guys, do you ladies, do you guys think that this is different? This time is different? We were talking about this in a bunch of different things all this past week, and I would just like to know your perspective on it. Do you think this is different or not?
Well, first, Sherry, did you want to answer the last thing before we move?
No, I did. I think I think I went.
Yeah, you went first, Sherry.
I think we switched. I think
Okay,
we switched. We switched around there a little bit.
No, I don't mean it to be so orderly. You go ahead and just, if you have something to say it. We're very flexible here. But yeah, just I'm curious about your thoughts on what's happening now. Is this different? Is this just, do you feel like, oh, we're gonna focus on this for a few weeks and then we'll go back to same old, or what do you think?
Well, I guess I'll go then. Yes, well, I think this is different because it's really taking notice throughout the world, throughout the United States. This is something that we all watched together. So there's no denying of what happened. There's no other story. The story is what we saw on the video. And so with that being said, I think that changed a whole lot. I think that changed the conversation. I think that changed the direction of how some others may have thought. I think it opened the eyes of many. And I do see this as changing, and I don't see it as stopping where it's at. I do see it as moving on.
Tahmyrah, do you want to go?
Sure. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry if I'm looking down a lot. I'm like quickly writing notes, writing questions down. And for different, I guess on a little bit clarification, do you mean like the movement itself, like the zeitgeist, like compared to the first civil rights movement?
Everything. I just feel there's, I feel I don't want to limit it to just one thing right now, because I feel like this is something, I see this transcend through so many different areas right now. And so I just kind of have a huge blanket of the movement, of calling it the movement, because I mean, you look at what happened here in the state of Iowa with Iowa football really having to look in the mirror and say, you know what, we need to be more sensitive to racial justice. You look at NASCAR banning the Confederate flag. You look at, I see in the sports world, all these athletes speaking up for the first time. And when I was playing and growing up, like, you shouldn't talk about politics. You shouldn't talk about things that are divisive and stuff like that. But then you're seeing like, not to always bring it back to sports, but I'm seeing a lot of athletic departments tweeting out Black Lives Matter, and just think of how far that is from Ferguson. And so that's kind of where I'm going from.
So not to be jaded, but I feel like a lot of the emotions are just emotions. Like, I feel like a lot of the support on behalf of corporations that have never had a history of caring about us, saying Black Lives Matter to drive profits. So that's how I feel about a lot of it. Same with sports teams. Sports has notoriously treated Black people like workhorses and people to be profited off of. So it's different in that I think that racism and fighting it has been almost made a spectacle. Like, I believe in defunding and abolishing the police. And instead of that, we get like, oh, this street is now named Black Lives Matter, and buy this t-shirt, and, you know, just stuff like that. So I think that this time is different, sure, but it's different because what we're fighting is so much more insidious, and there's so many more distractions, and it's easy to be derailed from the work that needs to be done. So in that way, it's just getting around that first and foremost before we can even get to what's important. And I think history repeats itself, of course. We're seeing a lot of things happening today that happened back then. It's just that we have so much more now in terms of just even the internet, you know, how that changed the political landscape and how people are processing this. So it's a lot of unique circumstances that we have to navigate to get where we need to go. And that's my thoughts on that.
And you stole my tagline, because I was just going to say, history does repeat itself. And this is just the new revolution of the civil rights movement. However, it's new, it's a new face, it's a new pulse. And the one thing that I have come to learn is that we can't just be appeased by the naming of the streets in reference to the reference to the streets, the hashtags being used, the tremendous amount of money that these large corporations are filtering into NAACP and other historically Black colleges and universities. What I would like to see from this movement happen is almost like the Black Panther Revolution. to the degree where Black people are empowered. They have access to some economic stability, having businesses, being able to be a part of education, being able to get access to affordable health care, having the opportunity to be in public safety, just public safety, sentences, racial biases, and those things. And although the Panthers seems to have a Black connotation, the movement it was a nonviolent movement. It was about empowering the African American community to be able to exercise their talents in the economy, in education, in healthcare, in public service. And we need to elect an official that can be the voice from the state of Iowa, JD, to help us make these changes. And we also need to come to you, JD, and say, JD, these are some things that we need in Iowa, in Fort Dodge, in Mason City, in Cedar Rapids, in Iowa City. These are some things we need to see from you and to help push that agenda and trust that, not just check the mark for the vote, but to check it, to mandate some things that will empower the African American community so that they can thrive just like any other community.
Yeah.
Yes. I just want to say one more point to that too, because that's right. Like, you are our chosen candidate, you are chosen representative, and with that comes a huge responsibility. And I look forward to holding you accountable, and I'm sure these other two ladies look forward to holding you accountable. So, like, look at yourself and what you can do in your campaign and in your life to advance what Black Lives Matter truly means. And so much of that is like unions, unionizing, Black working lives matter, hiring more Black people on your campaign. There are so many talented Black people in politics that you could import from the coast, like, just bring them in, bring them here. It would be so refreshing to see more Black faces on your campaign, and to continue to empower people like us on this panel, like giving your platform to Black people who have things to say, who want to seek out each other, who want to seek out healing, who want to seek out community, and to be revolutionary. I think that that is such a huge part to play, and you have a part in that if you want to be an accomplice in the revolution, and hold yourself accountable too. So that's, yeah.
And I think this opportunity has been great for you because you've put yourself in a vulnerable position to have this very sensitive conversation. But knowing you like I think I know you, JD, it's a platform for you to be educated, to hear from the respective communities, and to learn and grow so that you know how to